save our gracious King. God save our King.
Victorious. I love the shirt.
Here we go, man.
All right. Lights, camera, action.
Go.
Okay, my name's Tosca Jackson, and I have some news. I've not written a book, but Beyond Productions are making a documentary about me. So watch this space.
Oh, nice.
Oh, well, fantastic.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've completely gazumped you people.
Oh, you have?
With your books.
Oh, wow. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
Who's doing that with you?
Beyond Productions are doing it.
Are they?
Yeah, they are, and they've already. The Channel 4 want to do it, and the BBC.
Fantastic. What about your life?
Honestly.
Yeah, I've got all the. I've got the pitch deck in my pocket.
Fantastic.
I might put it online so people can go look at him.
Oh, Tosca has done something.
This is gazumped. Massive. We better get
Tell the people what you were tell the people what you're the founder of.
I don't really want to get into that right now because we've got
Why
other
not?
things to take care of. Right,
okay.
sitting
Well, you
on the
mentioned the
sofa.
books and the documentary.
Listen, don't worry about that. They got to tune in next time, and I'll let you show bits of documentary. Okay, so sitting opposite me, as per usual, we have
Mark Dempster.
and to my right we have
Michael Emmett.
And please let the people know books, Michael.
Mark, right, Michael, right.
Yeah,
my books,
Mark.
two books, a biography and a self-help book.
Okay.
Nothing to Declare. One's called Nothing to Declare. The other one's called The Ongoing Path.
Available
on Amazon and all
your platforms.
Yeah.
All your platforms. And to my right is Mark. Oh no, sorry, Mike.
Michael Tosca. He's not like you.
Yeah.
I think I've been called Mark before. Anyway, Michael Emmett. Yeah, I'm an author of my autobiography. It's called Sins of Fathers. It's about my life and change, and can be bought on Amazon.
Fantastic. So, what are we gonna get into today?
When your bollocks drop.
Really? I think I was about
Sorry,
13.
crew.
I think I was about 13. But what are we going to get into? So I drove in today, and there's like a real lot of traffic.
Yeah, Queen's died.
Because the Queen has died, and I was thinking maybe we should explore death and you know, our mortality and what that kind. So if I say the word death, right? Yeah. What does that mean to you, Mark, and your kind of, you know, your association? So
the first
with it
feeling, first feeling of death. Well, at first, you know, the first thought that goes is death of the ego, right? And I don't know what that was the first thing, the death of the ego, and then, but there's a feeling of fear, not a deep sense of existential, you know, like terror. Which I can get sometimes in the middle of the night. I can wake up. Quite interesting when we had all the COVID, when we had the whole thing. I remember when I got COVID, I thought, there's no one, I'm just on my own. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm wheezing, you know. So fear, and the death of the ego comes up. And yet, 2 or 3 times I'd say in my life I've really experienced being so close to it, like where I felt like it's there, it's just right there. I mean, several more times I was close because I was a heroin addict. I was an intravenous heroin addict, so every time I was shooting up heroin, I was potentially dying. But I you know, a few times I one in Peru where I got strangled, left for dead, and the other time when I was diving, I was doing a diving and I was down a bit deep, and I thought, oh, this is it, it's coming on top, it's all over. And another time when I was stabbed one time, but yeah.
But in that process, okay, so it's a bit like I'm very self-centered by design, right? And so the idea of dying, right, is like, I'll be really honest with you, right? You know, and I think I got to about 20 and sort of realised that the Portobello Road would exist after I was alive. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I literally felt, that I was intrinsically kind of connected to everything and everything, and it was, it kind of existed because I was around, right? You know what I mean? So, and what I find, one of the things I find really disturbing, right? Is there are street signs, right? That are older than me. Yeah. I find that really disturbing, right? And there are street signs that are going to be here a lot longer than I will be. Yeah. And it's kind of, you look at me and think, wow, it's my the apartment that I live in, has seen a lot of life. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's going to exist kind of beyond me, and as the older I get, the more I connect with, at a certain point I'm going to go, right? Yeah. And how do I feel about that? And then, so I'll ask you all another question. All right, okay, that kind of rolls into this and the acceptance of death and the rest of it. If I had a magic wand, right, and I could tap both of you on the shoulder and say, start again. Yeah, you could go back to being a baby and start again. Would you?
No way.
No.
Okay, so you've had enough.
No, it's not that I've had enough. I just think, we could all have, pluses and minuses for that. I mean, if I went back to the beginning, would it be my way?
Well, no. You could go back to the beginning
with this experience.
Yeah, know what you know.
I know what we know now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that would be great. What you could get,
absolutely.
Oh, the wisdom.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and we didn't.
They say that the youth is wasted on the young.
Right.
The innocence and the purity of life as a young kid. But would I like to start again with this knowledge of what I know? Yeah.
Oh man, the wisdom.
Would we be able to choose the year?
Absolutely. You could choose whatever you want.
Go back to 18, say, and with the knowledge that we've got now. Oh yeah. That would be great. I mean, like you'd have, for sure.
That would be quite bizarre, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I just wouldn't.
Oh, would you not?
No.
Okay, why not?
I've had enough. Like I just feel, I kind of think that life's slightly perverse, and I'm kind of fascinated with the topsy-turvy sort of, the fact is all the mad shit happens at the end of it. People dying, people in trouble, do you know what I mean? You not physically being able to do what you did before and being confronted with more things that affect you physically. Do you know what I mean? It's like someone's having
But that's not for everyone.
No.
Exactly, good point.
It isn't for everyone, but it is for most. So I always remember reading Alex Ferguson's book, and Alex Ferguson,
I've got that biography.
Will to Win, and he sort of said the interesting thing is at 50 you can do stuff you did at 40, but at 60 you can't do the stuff you did when you were 50.
It might have been the booze telling him that.
It was a boozer. It was a big boozer.
But do you know what? If you talk about death,
right. What does it conjure up for you?
Well, what it conjures up for me is from my past life, is my opinion. Yeah. So I had an accident diving with the stuff.
Oh, did you?
And it was, for a moment, I believe it was near death.
Aye, yeah.
But it didn't frighten me of dying. It frightened me of the sea. And I was quite a good, so it's always remained with me. I was down too deep, never dived before. The demand valve was going. I come up, I didn't know how to release I was in trouble. And anyway, they come and help me, but they kept away from me at first because the rule of the jungle is you get close to someone, they're dying, they're going to take you with them. And I was in trouble. Yeah. Anyway, so that done a sea thing for me, but it did. I wasn't frightened of dying then. I suppose the life that we've lived, but my experience of death, I suppose, sadly, obviously early days was grandparents dying, but I had a very tragic situation with my brother, who was 21 years old. I don't know if you know the story, Martin. No. He was our friend's friend, and I was in Spain, wanted by the police, all the drama, living in Marbella, because that's what you did when you was a naughty boy, or I think you did anyway. Yeah. So I rocked up down there, still a young man, was getting in trouble with the police. my grandfather, who had a big influence on my life, my mother's father, really lovely man. He had the flower store in Bond Street, still there actually. So he had that costermonger way about it. Lovely man, really cool guy, this guy. And he was dying. My brother came down to Spain to be with me while he was moments from death. And we used cocaine, not really out of character for my brother, around all the so-called faces down there because of my dad's friends, all nonsense, it's not important. High-level sort of night cocaine, women, the faces, all the sort of Freddie Foremans of the world, not dropping names, Fred. So, it's set, the scene's set, late night, we have words, he leaves the flat, his girlfriend is 6 months pregnant with his child, and next time I see him again, he died. He went underneath a lorry and it killed him stone dead. So that environment of death there was a level that I've never experienced, where it was very, very overwhelming, it slaughtered me, sent me into this sort of breakdown situation. I became woe is me. It became all about me because of my own pain. His son was born, beautiful boy today. His son's wonderful today.
Yeah.
But so then I'd seen someone get killed in a nightclub. That was a weird thing, different death emotion. Then I've lost both my parents, different death emotion. So there are different levels of tragic death, of just the will to die. At the end of the day, we all have to die. But it's a funny thing, dying. It's extremely funny. I can imagine there's a certain age when you can accept it, and there's a certain age that you can't, to be honest with you.
And do you know, Michael, before Dave, our friend Dave Bell was, before he passed away, I'd sit often on the way back to Croydon at night. He was in that hospital, and I'd sit round the bed with him, and I was really fortunate to have he was just there, and then and he'd say, and some days he would say, "I'm not frightened of it at all." I know, and then other days he'd be like, it's really on me. I'm really frightened. I'm just about to meet whatever I'm going to meet, whatever there is, whether there is or whether there isn't. You know, we're living in. I mean, what's happening in our society? You know, obviously as we get, society as a whole, as we get older, there's more cures. Where a lot of many years ago, wasn't it? People were dying in their 40s or 50s.
Absolutely.
Now we're living a lot longer, and they reckon by 2020, what is it? They reckon 2050 that they're going to have immortality. They could make people immortal because they'd be able to do this genetic modification stuff that they could just. You know, it's funny. I've got a client.
Would you like to?
No. I don't. But as a client that comes and sees me, or did come and see me, and his dad was the oldest guy in Saudi Arabia. He lived till he was 113.
Wow.
And he went out running till he was 95. He was I was right up till he was 113, and I think, God, it's a long, it's a long time, isn't it? So, but I get sometimes in the middle of the night when I've got the reptilian brain, when you wake up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, the fear, I can feel that existential terror, because really fundamentally it's all, mostly we, as animals, we have, whether we're conscious or whether we're unconscious, is we've got an existential terror that we're all going to die.
Do we believe there's something after death?
Now, then you ask your question is everything that we do, building religions, but building the thing, mate, is that a mechanism to deal with the existential terror that we know? Because if I'm sitting here and I think, I'm going to, whether I'm Hindu or whether I'm Christian. Sorry?
I think there's nothing.
You think there's nothing, right? This takes us on to the thing, mate. Right, so you agnostic or atheist? Do you think are you atheist, do you think, or agnostic? Well, I'm not sure. I'm agnostic, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say that, it's a bit like, BC AD, right? Yeah?
BC AD?
Well, before Christ, after Christ, it kind of existed before him. So the idea of wrapping it up for me in something that I have to kind of pray and worship, wherever that is, be to go to another place I ain't too sure about. That's
right. I get that.
Yeah, that's my kind of take on it. So it's,
which is a good take.
It's just a natural process. It's like I am going to die, right? And how do I feel about dying? Yeah, and I feel that I've had a good run.
He's got a great way of explaining things.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I do. I feel like.
So, are you ready to go now?
I'm ready to go now. It's funny you say that you woke up with like the terrors. I was on a plane recently coming back from Los Angeles, and like I woke up, and I never have panic attacks. I woke up. Where am I? And I'm on an aeroplane. I got out of the seat, nearly running around. What's it all about? I mean, like
freaking out,
kind of going fucking mad.
Right? That.
And sort of thinking to myself, I just want it over.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Well. It's kind of.
I get that.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like. If it wasn't for the fact that I had my children, I find a lot of it a little bit pointless.
Okay, I understand. I get that nowadays.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's I always remember reading in some sort of stupid magazine, like I don't want to get sued by Hello magazine, but something like that. This Chinese bloke, who's the oldest bloke in the world, he's like 120, said, I've had enough now. He did have it.
He's tired.
It's just time. Do you know what I mean? And I kind
of enough.
I know. Not that I want.
Have you forgot me?
Not that I want to go or that sort of stuff and the rest of it, but I am sort of, as I move into and I suppose the issue for me, I think the older I get, the less relevant I get.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
And that in itself, is kind of quite painful.
I hear that.
Yeah,
I hear that.
And I think that people are a lot smarter than I ever was. Do you know what I mean? And they're moving on, and it's like it's like I find myself being put, shunted to the room at the back. Yeah. So you know what I mean? Everyone's at the front and the front of the queue, and you're to the back. No, so with that as like a. It's not even a dilemma. It's so that I'm confronted with all the time. I'm coming to the back end of it. Yeah, that's it.
The autumn.
I'm coming to
the autumn.
I'm coming to, and that's it. And there's nothing I can do about it. And
are you happy?
Yeah, I'm listening. I think when I think about myself, right? Yeah. Which I do all of the time. I've got to say. I think myself, I can't believe I got away with it.
Okay.
What you're still? You mean you're still around? To that? You mean like we're all still around? Yeah,
I get that.
Really.
Yeah, it's kind of like
there's no way we should. I mean, the three of it. I mean, no, but there's no way which the three of us should be.
I got out of it. Can you believe it? It's like one of those things where I always said if I ever wrote a book, it would be No One Gets Out Alive.
Yeah. Great name.
Because no one does get out alive.
I think you should write one.
Yeah, and I'm kind of presented with.
Do you write?
Yeah, every now and again I do write, and I think that the part of my process, and definitely doing this, is that that's in hand. And as I say, there is a documentary. We'll get into another time. But
that's great news.
I've had enough. Sort of.
The Romans, right, had their slave. Not that I'm promoting slavery here, right, by any manner of means, but the Romans, the Caesars and the charioteers had their slaves, didn't they? And they paid them to whisper in their ear continually when they were going into battle, say, "Memento mori, you too shall pass." And that was it, memento mori, and you're not God. right? Because the ego was so inflated by the charioteers and the Caesar was, just remember, you're not God, and you too shall pass. And there's something good about that, I think. And there's another saying, but the Stoics used to say, amor fati, love your fate. Just as in embrace. You know that, you know the story of the guy. The story of the guy. He's got a farm and he's got a horse, and his horse disappears, and all the villagers come round and say, "My God, you know, you've lost your horse. Is that terrible?" He's like, "Well, let's see. Maybe." He goes, "Maybe." And then the horse comes back the next day, and there'll be 4 other horses, and then the villagers all come round and go like, "Oh my God, that's great news, isn't it? You've got your horse back, and you've got 3 other horses." He says, "Maybe." And then the next day, his son falls off a horse, breaks his leg. The villagers all go, "Isn't that terrible? Your son's broke his leg." He goes, "Well, maybe." Next day, the army come into the village. They're looking for recruits to go into the army, and his son's broken his leg, so they can't take him. The villagers all come round and go, "Oh, it's great. He got a relief, man. They never get in it." Maybe. It's like, sure. Your fate is your fate, isn't it?
For sure.
You know, and it's just interesting. And the Buddhist would say, don't get attached to your ego. Don't get attached to life, right? Just like... and be grateful, to have gratitude that this could be your last, you know, like really stay.
Do you know what though? If we get it right in ourselves, you know, they talk about the presence of right now. So right now we're sitting here chatting, everything's fine.
Right.
But what we want to do, or sometimes I want to do, is I want to think about next week, or I want to think about what Albert said last week. Right. So that none of them exist. Yeah. But I'll spend my time living in both of those places. Yeah. One is the anxiety of what may just happen. And it's not all bad what may happen. And the past is always, I'll pick something up that's negative about myself. So is that how I want to live my life? No. Right? So would I like to achieve, my final achievement on this earth is to come to terms with who I am and live out the latter part of my life in a very nice, peaceful way. I'm not saying I don't want things, because I enjoy.
But don't you think you've done that?
I'm getting there because I know what my days are like, and I think one of the things, I have achieved a lot of that, and I sometimes have to pat myself on the back. But one of the things I'm going through at the moment is I've just been diagnosed as I've got lung cancer. Yeah, so I can give you a story about what I think. I can tell you what some of the doctors have said, but how I feel. Yeah. So is it life-threatening? I suppose it could be. Any sort of cancer could be life-threatening, any prostate problem. But it was quite strange because I knew before they told me, and I'm no big shot. I'm not, I can bring it on. I'm not worried about that stuff, because that doesn't exist. But I think a number of years ago, there was one of my dearest friends. His 2 brothers both died within 18 months of each other of cancer. And at that particular time, I was engrossed in a world of crime, big money, this, that. So in my own stupidness, the people I put on the pedestals was who was the biggest drug smuggler, who'd done the most bird, who had the best car, all complete nonsense. And I remember these 2 geezers facing their final months with absolute control, peace. And I thought, my God, what tough guys. What amazing men, not done anything. One was an electrician, one works on a fruit stall. Who cares what they do? It was the manhood that they showed. And when I found out about this, it happened a couple of months ago. I won't go over it too deep. I had massive hair loss. I had problems with a prostate, liver, kidney. Then I caught the COVID. And what had happened? There was a dormant cancer on my lung that decided to activate itself 2 months ago and create all these problems. But I never found out about it until about 4 weeks ago. And I knew when they told me, I told them, I was up in Scotland, we shouldn't really tell you, you'd be, I said, look, it is what it is. And they've agreed it. So my attitude towards it is, whether it's life-threatening or not, that makes its own decision, or God does, or my treatment does, or I do. But it's strange, it's brought peace. I don't know how. It's given me a reality of life that all of a sudden death might have gone, all right, And I was always frightened of that, but I'm not, right? And if it's meant to be, it will be. And I'm not being like, oh, yeah, let's all be positive and we're all right. But something takes over when your balls drop to being able to ejaculate, to telling someone, whatever goes on in the process of one's being, I think the body is, or the mind, spirit, soul, whatever it is, it's geared up for something like a woman giving birth. Yeah. If you had to say to a woman, this is what you got to do, I don't fancy that. Death is a part of our growth from the beginning to the end, right? It just doesn't sound a nice word, death, is it? Or the end, or maybe it's not the end. But whatever it is, something takes over. And then you start to be grateful that you've got your food in your cupboard, you've got your money, you can survive. You've got the love from your family, your grandchildren and your children. And it seems to be easier for me than it is, say, for my kids at the moment. And I feel very confident I'm going to make it. But there's a chance I might not. But it's not, I'm not thinking every day, oh my God, I'm dying. It's bizarre. I think, hold on, what do I need to help me survive? So I need to be grateful for now. I need to be careful what I eat and what I do. I need to be careful. I mean, today I didn't want to come today. It was only you guys. I was excited to come because I've had this chemo, and it's something dirty. It plays with you. It's not kind to you. It's not, oh, listen, I'm chemo, I'm your mate, I'm going to help you, so I'm going to get you through cancer. It's coming, I'm getting in the mix to, and it's like, it's ferocious. So it's unpredictable, but there's a peace around it all. And the reality is that I'm very grateful for everything I've had in my life, especially when my children are concerned, things like that. And it makes you value what really is important. It's the value, and you don't work it out, it happens.
So in short, you're quite happy with where you're at, and if you went tomorrow, that would be fine.
I'm not saying I'm happy to go tomorrow.
No.
That's a different connotation because there's too much here. But if that was the case, I'm not sitting here dreading tomorrow. I'm not dreading tomorrow, and I'm not giving up. And I feel that if I was to die, then that may be my fate. That may be my life's plan. But I'm going to do everything I can to exist in this environment, and I think some good will come from it. It's made me look at a few things that I've taken for granted, and that is the air that I breathe.
Right.
You know, let's be grateful that for really what.
Because I'm sitting there thinking, one of us could have a stroke, a brain
anytime
right now.
I know.
Right now.
And that's it. So what happens?
Would you be sweet with that?
Yeah.
If it was your whack?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I'd be happy if you died.
No, listen, I'll tell you, see when I was in that it's the nearest time that I can remember, but when I was in Peru, when I thought it was over, right, I thought these guys, this guy was strangling us, another three were holding me down. Now, at that point, I remember I was fighting like a lunatic, couldn't overpower them. And I was in this ghetto, wasn't it?
In Cusco?
In Cusco. I was in this ghetto. It was a burnt out car. There was just some wooden huts around. Anyway, there was no one around. It was 2:00 in the morning. And then we've got a dance routine going on here. What's it?
Hey,
and then just at that point, just at that point, I remember this feeling, and I've never experienced this before, but
sorry about that.
Something in me, and whether it was external or whether it was internal, I don't know at this day, but something in me said, stop fighting with these guys, and just kid on like you're dead, kid on like kid on you're dead. And just before I went under, so I lost the oxygen because there was no oxygen. Just before I went under, I remember feeling this peace that I have never, and what that peace was it's all your worries and anxieties, and all that. You don't have to worry about any of that. It's gone.
That's it.
It's gone. And I felt a peace like you don't, because it doesn't matter. None of it matters anymore. You know, none of this like, oh God, worrying about this or worrying about, you know, all of it with that.
That's similar to what I was just saying.
Absolutely.
Something kicks in.
Something's kicked in.
Do I think I'm going to die? No.
Yeah.
is there a chance? There is a chance, but I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I'm going to die. But I do know that there's a situation that's parked itself up in me that potentially can be dangerous. But completely. The peace I've got over it, and I'm not making it up, it's quite uncanny. It's quite uncanny.
And then when I came to from that, the gratitude that I felt, in those first moments when I thought, I'm alive, you know, and then it all starts again. My head was like, I've just taken £400. I've just, you know, like I've just survived. Oh, I've got no shoes. I'm not going to get. I've got no passport. You know, like. But it was a
tiny reprieve.
A tiny reprieve, and then I think that there, whether that's God that spoke, or whether it's a higher power, or whether it was my survival mechanism that was going to stop, give up. But there was certainly a peace that I just. I really felt I felt so strongly, and I thought, God, man, if I could bottle that feeling, if I could sell that, be like, you know, it was beautiful.
Do you feel old today? Do you feel older?
That's a good question, Michael. I don't feel any. I mean, obviously, sometimes I get a glimpse of myself, because in my head, I still feel like I'm in my 30s, or and then I get a glimpse of myself in the mirror and go, oh. Or I see myself on this podcast, I go, no, you're an older man, you're approaching 60, I'm 58 years old, so I'm approaching 60.
You don't look bad.
Do you know the beauty of, you know what I love about life? Right? And one of the things I love about life is the fact that you always see it through the same eyes. Yeah, so, you know, I'm still like 17 as far as I'm concerned, and I'm running, you know, I always remember I went to a church recently, St. Stephen's, and I remember standing there in 1982 with Rusty Egan, Mick Clark, and a couple of other people were standing outside this church, St. Stephen's, and I can just go straight back there. You know what I mean? And it's the early 80s, and life's going to be great. You know what I mean? Everything's going to be fine. And Rusty was living in a pub in Shepherd's Bush, and you know, just started this Visage thing, and all, you know what I mean, all of this stuff. And I can go back there because I still got the same eyes, and they still recount exactly where I've been. And it's what you say, it's what you say. It's kind of like, what has become really relevant to me though is the fact that, you know, I'm a big football fan, right? A guy played today who's 15. Right?
Really?
15? For Arsenal?
Yeah.
Honestly?
Yeah.
What? Out in the pack? Okay. I didn't think it was allowed to play at 15.
Yeah, youngest ever. Right, he's 15.
What position?
That didn't matter.
But
centre mid. Anyway, so he's comes on, he's 15. And I can be his great-granddad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like... And so what in my head, it's kind of like, okay, I'm so far away, and I mentioned this before, away from relevance, that I have to be prepared for the other part of my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true,
It's kind of, you know, people aren't, you know, when people are going to talk about the people that matter, and, you know, and it's, people stop listening to music, right?
Yeah.
Creatively, you know, I have a business, we have an app, the Stack Radio app. Get it, it's on Apple iTunes, and it's also on Google Play. Only 20 quid a year, good subscription. And we know from our research, people stop listening actively to music at 33.
Right.
Yeah, they stop being fans, they stop doing that. You know what I mean? That was over 20 years for me.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you think you know that you
Did
think
you
you're
stop
down.
listening to music?
No.
But you listen.
It changes.
You listen to it in a particular way.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
You listen to it in a particular way.
But don't you think it's interesting? Our friends, and a lot of our friends have died over the last few years.
Yes.
And just that, how the effect that has on us as well. When somebody that, you know, we're sitting here, it could be one of, as you say, right? It could be one of us. And we could sit, this could be our one of ours, it could be our last podcast. 3 weeks ago, we were sitting here and Mark's dead now, you know, or whoever, and you think, God, you know, you had these experiences with this man or woman, and they're gone, you're never going to see them again. And that, like, and you're like, there's something about that then that feels really surreal for a bit, because it shocks, because for me, I go, whoa, that could be me.
Yeah.
That, and I get this moment of, I get this, really embrace your life, because you could, so we get that, don't we?
Yeah, and
that,
I think if you can get, into go from 50 to 60 without something sort of major, you've skipped over it. I've lost lots of friends during this kind of period, heart attacks, doing whatever, and it's kind of like, okay, but there's also this kind of, and my mum, it's funny because my mum's 82, and all of her sisters she's like the last one left. All of her sisters have died. Her closest cousin died this year, and it's like a purgatory. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, how am I the only? How has this happened? It's like a game of cards, and she's ended up, like with snap with the pack. Because there's gonna have to be one, isn't there?
Absolutely, got to be one left.
And in the same token, it's a bit like, one of us is going to go to one of our funerals.
Yeah, of course, we are.
And that's kind of the reality.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do I really feel about that?
Yeah.
And I do feel that. I do feel I'm kind of okay. And what and what's really
okay, that's lovely.
And what I've kind of decided, and a bit taken on what you just said about trying to live your best life. Trying to do what's up. So I went to see Arsenal play Brentford today. And I went to see him play, because I decided, like, back end of last year, I'm going to go, right? Because what I love about football is one of the only things in my life I've got no control over. There's a certain level of acceptance around it. I can, and it's a gamble, right? I can drive all the way to Manchester and we can get beat by 6-0, which I've experienced before. But you know what I've got to do? I've got to wipe my mouth, accept it, and just get on with it.
Absolutely, it's a moment.
And I can't control it.
That's right. That's when you've won.
I can't control it. And what I decided last year, I needed to get kind of back to that.
And have you got the ability to control it without it doing your head in?
Yeah, because the beauty of it is I can do it, is I can engage in it. And it's something that I love and something that I really can't. And and I suppose,
was there a value in the disappointment for you as well, though?
Yeah, there's a value in it all. The value is in the participation. And the value is how I feel about it. Is the 11 people that I go and cheer for, and which is the humiliating thing about it, they don't give a fuck about me.
No, absolutely. That's fantastic. That's true.
I could be waiting at a bus stop with a puddle, and they could drive through it in their Lamborghini, go all over me.
Look at him.
Wouldn't care.
Didn't know that. That's right.
But what I've done is I've left it all out there.
Amen. That's great.
You know what I mean? And I have to accept the consequences of that, and just kind of carry on. And what I also know is, because I do this, and there's only one team going to win this, and one team going to win this, one team there's going to be a lot of fucking disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely. Hundreds of thousands of people. That sounds like you're obtaining wisdom at an older age, though.
Well,
that's a lovely place to be.
Well, I said
that's a real lovely place to be.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to go every game that I can get to, home or away. I'm going to go. And it's, and I used to do it when I was younger, did it as a kid. And I think, well, okay, now I'm going to do it until I, and keep on. So getting back to the death thing, it's kind of like, I'm kind of slightly relieved.
What about if we think about death, though, as being part of our body one day saying, do you know what? He might have lasted 120 years, but this one was only lasting X, Y, Z. And I think if you go into it like that, understanding it, like listening to you about your football, how you're growing, and I think it's just about acceptance. As long as we're not thinking, could this be the day? Am I going today? It's about living free in the presence of what makes us happy, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think about dying?
Yeah, I've even got all the songs sorted out for me.
Oh, blimey, you've gone right into it.
I've told my kids what songs I want.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an acceptance.
You've done it.
What songs are? Can we have a peek?
They have to turn up and find out.
I hope I'm not at your funeral, but I would be.
Well, yeah, you'd have to.
I've got a lot of love for you.
But it's but it is quite funny. What I get brought out to is quite funny.
We need to do more with this guy because I think he's got a message for the world. This fella.
Yeah, I think so too.
I really think he has.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, where were we?
Yeah, I mean about the music.
It's kind
turn the music up.
Yeah, it's kind of we were talking about relevance and where you go and your kind of acceptance of that, and and you really said something that really resonated about the enjoyment, and what I sense, especially with you, is all the travel you do. Weekends in all these Balkan countries. It's kind of like it's
some of that is I really want to experience. Like I think what it is, I've always had this thing. I want to really enjoy the life as much because I've just seen so many people dying over the years, and a lot of my friends, like Michael was saying, and you will have the same, Tosca. A lot of the guys that I grew up with wound up getting killed, or they wound up dying of addiction, or they wound up, and there's this sense of like, well, really try and live life and try and really embrace experiences in life where you can meet sort of, going to some of these mad places like Albania and stuff where people are a bit edgy. They're a bit like, why you go to Albania, man? I mean, they're Albania, whatever their judgment about Albania. So when I go there, some part of me goes, oh, right, this is like, I feel as if I'm really living life. Right. That I'm actually touching, like it's palpable, or something about in the moment I'm getting this experience. And it's shaping my spirit. It's shaping me.
Absolutely.
It's shaping my spirit. And I'm sitting. Like, listen, last week I was in Egypt and I went with my dad. I took my dad before he died to Egypt, and I made amends to my father in front of the pyramids and Cheops in front. And last week I was in. This is a great thing about recovery, right? I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to get up to the pyramids, I'm going to jump in a taxi, I'm going to haggle with the taxi driver around the price, and I'm going to get up to the pyramids, and I'm going to remember, and I'm going to think about my father when I was doing the amends. My father was sober, and I got to the pyramids, and there was no one there. There was a camel, there was a guy across there with a camel, there was a couple of police that monitor the pyramids. And I got there and I climbed up some of the pyramid, and I totally blew the whistle and got me to come down. But And I sat and I thought about my dad, and I thought about the amends that I made. But on the way to that pyramid, right, I was in the car with this mad taxi driver. He was going at a rate of not. I mean, they drive like, loons, right? And he was going, cutting in and out of this traffic. And he put on these prayers, right? He said, Allah Akbar. He was like, Allah Akbar, Abdullah. He was like, God is great. Anyway, he's putting on his prayers, and I went to him. I'm sitting there, right? And I says, yeah, right, let's go for it. Let me join. Like, so he's singing, right? This guy's singing the chant, and I'm sitting with him, and I could feel. And in that moment, before I got to the pyramids, I thought, this experience with this talk show, I'm never going to see this man again. Absolutely. I'm never going to see him again. But I'm going to share, and I'm going to give him a tip, even though I've haggled with him a wee bit, and I've got him down to a price. I'm going to still give him a tip at the end of it and get, And I thought, I'm never going to see this guy again. And then I got to the pyramid. And that's what is life, isn't it? It's really like choosing, like, when we're alive, really try to milk. There's a part of me wants to milk it for every bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because a lot of people don't.
Because you plus him at that particular moment, you're never going to be able to recreate that.
I'll never create that experience. It's never going to be the same. And then when I got to that pyramid, and I thought about my dad, and I thought about this priceless moment I had with my father, where he showed his vulnerability when I made this amend, and I seen this man, and he cried. When I said to him, I says, Dad, you're an alcoholic, I was an addict, we both really hurt each other, but you're my father, and and I love you. the glitch in the armour happened, and a tear happened, and I'll never forget it. I took him I took him into me like that. I says, look, and I had the back of his head. I remember holding the back of his head, and he's starting to cry like a child, like all them, you know, that's beautiful. Hard. And I remember thinking that time, that was 20 years or 18 years ago. I remember thinking, oh, I've done it. This is like all these years I've been trying to connect with that, and in this moment I've got this experience, and you know, and when I was at the pyramids last week, I remembered that, and I thought, right, okay, just let yourself feel and remember that memory, because we, you know.
Do you know? I don't want to sort of, but the dad-son thing is for me. I suppose my relationship with my dad was pretty odd. I sat in a prison cell with him.
Yeah.
I done crime with my dad, but I also had a growing up with my dad where he supported me in school. He tried to better my life. He had this reputation of being whatever he was.
Yeah.
Bottom line, he was a big drug smuggler.
Aye.
And so the drug smuggling father, or the criminal father, and the normal father, there was always a lie that we lived. And I got accustomed to it, and I followed in his footsteps. But we had moments where, without getting too personal, but they were very, very bad moments.
Yeah.
In falling out, in violence, and I'm bad.
Aye.
Being sentenced to a long time in prison, and all those things played a part. And I was what he was because of how he treated my mother. But there's wonderful memories in there. But towards the end, it got bad. We financially, we was in trouble, and it was all this. He got dementia. He come to live with me on the farm, and in the end, I started to really hate him. Yeah. And I couldn't live with that because it was the first opinion I chose when I saw him. It wasn't filter it. There was a lot of baggage in there. Yeah. And I nursed him for a number of months. Was I good? I weren't bad. Could I have been better? Yeah. And it became this, the roles were reversed. So I became something that he needed. Yeah. So naturally I defended him and I looked after him. He was very small now. He was very little, lost all his weight. He had dementia. And then he had 8 minor strokes, and he sat in a care home for nearly 2.5 years. And it's when I started to respect and love him again, because the part of his dementia which took him to that place, there was also a part of normality that he knew where he was. And it was his last chance to learn, and he took it on the chin like there was no tomorrow, in a nappy, looking at me saying, what the effing hell we're doing here? But it was part of the journey, and we shared it together. Now, I was there most days, and I come into land now. They gave him a little while to live, and he went on and on and on. I say, Dad, come on, go home, mate. Yeah, go home, I've had enough. You've got to get out of here. No, I'll be all right, son, I'll be all right. Singing and praying and all this in the care home with him. And I had so much respect for him in the nothingness. Not because he'd done this and he'd had a car and he had this big drug smuggle and we had whatever. I loved him unconditionally, in a nappy, bless your heart, Dad. And I see more of a man there than I did when I see him was on the cobbles. Yeah, I see this man who was fighting for his life, and he'd done it with style. But the last day that he on this earth, I'd been with him for a number of months, up there all the time. Anyway, my kid said, Dad, you need to go away. I go away, he chooses to die. Yeah. I get a phone call. I've only been away 24 hours. He's got 4 days to go. I try to get back. I can't get back immediately. I come back the following day, get a phone call. He's got 2 hours to go. My ex-wife, darling Tracy, and one of my daughters is close by. I go there, hold his hands and pray. Yeah. The phone don't work in the care home in his room because of the signal. So all he keeps calling is me. And when I say that what we've done to each other at times was heartbreaking, and it weren't me, it was both of us. Yes, I love you, Dad, but I couldn't communicate that love with him because for the backlog of resentments, what he'd done to me, my mother, and what I'd done to him and all. I drove him absolutely mad. This man was so loyal, but I lost the value of who he really was. We muddied the dad-son situation with criminality and what money and whatever. Birds, women. Sorry, not birds, women. Anyway, I get a phone call to phone the care home, and they say, look, try the mobile. This is a true story from start to finish. My life's always been a bit dramatic and chaotic, but the phone works. And I spend exactly 4 minutes and 48 seconds on that phone. Yeah. My mother had died. He didn't know. I got to tell him. He responded by sticking his tongue out. I said everything that I had to say to him. Yeah. And I prayed for him as he was dying. From that moment, it was the moment. Like your moment with your dad. That 4 minutes, as I was praying for him, the lady shouted out, Michael, he's gone. Yeah. I don't know what happened. £1 million worth of therapy. The touch of God. I don't know what happened. But something happened in that moment that my heart, body and soul responded to loving him. Not one issue do I have with him since he's died. Now, I'm sure I would have done if that amends wasn't made in that. It was a moment that was destined for me and my dad. When they put him in I see a photograph of him. He didn't look too lively. He looked diabolical, the old git. I thought, thank God he's gone. A week later or 2 weeks later, I go into the place in Chelsea to look at him. And I kid you not, I walk into the chapel of rest. He's standing there. And I'm thinking before I go in, I don't think he likes them yellow pants. As if he knows that I've given him yellow pants.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Find a detail. I don't think he's going to like them. Do you think he likes them yellow pants? To myself, no one can hear. But I walk in there. And as I walk in there, I kid you not, he was smiling at me. There's definitely a smirk in his face as if to go, I've done it. I'm all right. And I said to him, you driven me mad all these years. I said, you bleep, whatever I said to him. And I walked over to him and kissed him. I was frightened he was going to go, I'm only joking. But that moment enabled me to heal from the dysfunctional relationship that I had with my father.
Yeah, beautiful.
I don't know how, but it worked.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
There are moments.
You know, and that's something that I think we can end on.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah,
right? That was great, man.
Yeah, and
have we done enough?
I think we've done enough.
I think we've definitely.
I think we've done it. We've smashed it. That was great, man. That was powerful.